All right, it is 7:07. We will go ahead and call the October 27th meeting of the Salem Plan Commission to order. We'll go ahead and start with roll call. Talisha Day.
Here.
Greg Zink.
Present.
Steve Williams.
Present.
Max Gamble.
Absent.
Absent. Tom Jacobs.
Here.
Scott Nail.
Here.
I'm Anthony Cyphers. And we're also joined by Ronnie from the building department and our attorney, Jacob Vissing. With roll call out of the way, we'll go ahead and move on to the minutes approval from last month's meeting. Does anyone have any additions, corrections?
We need to make a correction on the meeting of July 28th. I was absent from that meeting, but I'm listed as having made the motion to approve the minutes on the previous meeting. Can't be at two places at once.
Absolutely.
So, other than that, I would move that we accept the minutes for July 28th as presented with the caveat that the motion made to approve the previous minutes, my name be removed and we put the proper person's name in.
The video recording can be consulted to see who made that motion, so that can be corrected.
All right, motion's been made.
I'll second it.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes have been approved. Next thing on the agenda is reviewing the permits issued for August and September of 2025.
We have also the minute for August the 25th meetings.
I apologize. The August, did you say 5th?
25th.
August 25th, 2025. All right, so moving on then from the July 28th to the August 25th minutes. Does anyone have any additions, corrections to the August 25th minutes?
If not, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written for August 25, 2025.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, now moving on to permits issued for both August and September 2025.
If nobody has any comments or questions or anything on those, I'll make a motion to acknowledge the permits issued from that time period.
And I'll second that.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve both the August 2025 and September 2025 permits issued. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Moving right along. I know what this is, what's this? Is this just no new business?
I'll kind of handle talking us through that.
Okay. Next on our agenda is we have a public hearing on a proposed subdivision from BDA LLC. As everyone who would, if you want to speak in the public hearing, I would ask that you sign in. So if anyone is here to speak other than the petitioner, is anyone, are you guys here for the subdivision or the other item? All right, cool. Well then, seeing that there is just the petitioner here along with Ronnie, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. The way the format's gonna work is we'll invite Ronnie and or the petitioner up to let us know what's going on with this subdivision. Have a chance to ask questions. If there is anyone who has public comment, At that point, you'll be given time to speak. If there is public comment and additional questions are raised, the petitioner would then have the option to answer or address any of those questions. Seeing that there is no one here to comment, probably just gonna come up the one time if that works for everybody. So without further ado, Ronnie, if you don't mind, if you'd come up. And then I'll just ask real quick, would you state your name and home address for the record?
Brian Newby, 3672 North Mars Road, Salem.
Thank you.
This is a pretty simple subdivision. As you can see, it's up along Ballpark Road. There is no roads for him to build, he's just using existing land. It's actually a cornfield right now. And if you look over here, this is the existing subdivision. This is just kind of an extension, not of that subdivision, but of his.
So this is, if you were at the ball field and you are, I guess, facing west from the ball field, there's that road that curves behind the T-ball field and the, I think it's the 10U field there. This would be then in that field on the other side of that curved road.
Right.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, it goes on around to Nancy Street, that property does. And this is what could be fed off of a sewer that's over here, sanitary sewer, that'd be taken down that way, then come back. This is on the hill, crown of the hill there, and we head back this way. And same with the water. So there's not much has to be in there. He did use, what's your surveyor's name?
Oh, Oakley, Jim Oakley.
Jim Oakley.
So you're saying that the existing services or utilities can be easily accessed with,
And these are conforming lots to an R3.
And just from a procedural standpoint as well, I mean, when we're talking about primary plat approval, so long as the applicant satisfies all of the criteria in the subdivision control ordinance, then the commission or the planning commission cannot exercise discretion in whether to approve. If it satisfies everything, then you have to approve. If it does not satisfy one of the items, then you have to deny specifically for that reason, and then the applicant has the opportunity to come back at the next meeting with an updated plat correcting the insufficient item. And then it's assuming that it does, then at that time you would have to approve it. So I just wanted to impress upon the Plan Commission that this isn't an item for discretion.
Thank you.
sir, could you spell your last name for me, please?
You want
Could you spell?
last name?
Yes,
Newby,
Newby, N,
Newby.
So since he's presented Exhibit B, we can approve it with that stipulation. It does have to stay in place, I guess. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
B or C?
C.
C.
So Ronnie, does anything stick out to you? I mean, it definitely, it seems as though it conforms to standards in the subdivision control
Yeah,
ordinance. Is there anything that is a concern to you or that you,
No, not really. There's utility easements between each lot, so if we do need to take a sewer or something to get on the backside, then.
So they would come in the backside and they're not gonna come around the front, I guess.
Well, now this one, we are gonna come out front because there's more room for them to operate. We've got dogs and right of way out there.
Okay.
that actually has a 60-foot right-of-way on that street there.
Okay.
So they do prefer sewer hookups and water meters out front.
Out on the
And
front
there's
road.
plenty of room for that.
So, does that one have to have the sidewalk to make it conforming? Does he have to do a sidewalk
You know,
for the ordinance? No. And no more lights or anything like that? That's all good
There's
through there?
already lights there. Now, they may want to come back and say, we do want to put a sidewalk in, which they're allowed to do that. But it's one thing that we're, this subdivision.
I didn't know if
right
it
here-
had to have one going in. I couldn't remember how that ordinance was written.
No, if this one back here doesn't have one either, it'd be a sidewalk to nowhere.
Mhm.
We don't have any going to it.
Where would be the nearest fire hydrant?
There's one right across the street down here, and, when we're gonna run a water main up along Ballpark Road, and automatically we'll put some in front there.
Okay. So Ronnie, then, as it stands, we meet all, he meets all requirements as presented.
Right.
Okay.
This is a pretty simple one.
Yeah. Then well, for the attorney, it would be appropriate at this time to enter a motion to accept?
Yes, if all of the criteria of the subdivision control ordinance are met and the zoning ordinance are met, then it's a ministerial act and it must be approved.
Then,
Now, if you guys wanna put stipulation in there about a sidewalk, you can. However, there's no other sidewalks coming to that area.
Yes, I don't, not across the street, there's not one behind it, there's not
Yeah.
one, the nearest one would be Mains, I mean, Mains, yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, I'm a fan of sidewalks, but I don't see that really,
I don't see where
it would go to
makes
nowhere,
sense.
so. Alright, do we need to,
You need a motion, a second, and a vote.
well, aren't we still under?
well, I was gonna say, do I need to open and close public comment, or?
You can close it if there's no one to speak, or you can take a vote to close it, but either way.
Okay. I'll move to close public comment, seeing that there is no one here unless, all right, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Go ahead and entertain a motion then.
I just have some thoughts.
Sure.
And that's exactly what they are. They're just thoughts. They're not really concerning us necessarily at all. The only thing, when I'm looking at this, and we've either all been up there or we've all had children up there, the traffic flow that's through this area. I would just encourage whoever works on this, look at where driveways are placed in relationship to the intersections and just so on and so forth. And I know lots 2 through 7 through there, those poor folks, they park up the whole front end of those grass lots, so.
That will no longer be allowed.
Exactly. So is it gonna be no parking or think about no park, but all that city stuff. And again, I'm just tossing thoughts out there.
So I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat with all the exhibits that Mr. Newby has provided with us, staying effective, of course.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Preliminary plat has been approved, and with that then, I'd entertain a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing.
I'll move we close public hearing.
Motion's been
I'll
made,
second.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I presume probably next month we'll have them back for the title back.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So I'll kind of handle the,
Sure.
I'll handle the introduction of the next item. So This involves a mobile home park owned by Timco Property LLC. It is approximately 11 and a half acres, located at 508 South Martinsburg Road. So I don't know what members were a part of this commission back in 2022, but this is a bit of a revisit to that item. Under Salem's zoning ordinance, a mobile home park is permitted by special exception in both an R zone and an R3 zone. Previously, the applicant was granted approval for the current improved lots in the mobile home park, and the applicant is seeking to expand the park further. Back in 2022, it went to a series of meetings in March and May of that year, at which time an expansion at that time of 16 homes was approved, subject to a few stipulations, some of which are really duplicative of what's already required under federal law and under state law. But one of the other items was for the chip and seal coating on what's known as Bryant Drive. That's the internal street within the park. In connection with this came about, there was an exchange back and forth between the applicant and the staff regarding the status of the sealed road, and also a couple, I believe there are 2 homes that are not currently occupied that are being stored at the site. So we sat down and talked a little bit about how to address those situations prior to addressing the application for the expansion. So from the staff's perspective, they wanted to see the 2 homes, removed in short, but they also wanted to see the roadway to be sealed. In working with the applicant, they presented a form of seal that it's technically not a chip and seal, but it is a functional equivalent. The staff reached out to some local consultants to get their opinion on the adequacy and quality of that type of seal, and felt satisfied such that we communicated to the applicant that they would be fine to go ahead and move forward with that. Is a bit of a housekeeping item because the chip and seal was the verbiage that was used back a little over 3 years ago on that approval. We would ask for the formality of the Plan Commission to give its blessing to that form of seal. Again, it's just a little bit of new technologies come about and new things that serve the same purpose of making it a hard and dust-proof surface. Again, it was such that the city staff felt comfortable with that as being the manner and mechanism of accomplishing that goal. So again, we would ask just the Plan Commission for the satisfaction of the staff and of the applicant to give its blessing to that. The second part of what we're here to discuss is for their application for an expansion. It will go not at this month's BZA meeting due to public hearing notices that have to go out a certain period of time before the hearing before the Board of Zoning Appeals and the special exception. It'll be at the November meeting, but there will be a noticed public hearing on a special exception for the expansion of the mobile home park at that meeting, at which time really the issue of the use is the mobile home park, and the expansion of it will be addressed according to the special exception criteria by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Under the zoning ordinance, however, for mobile home parks, it's a bit of a 2-step process where the somewhat similar but not the same is like a plat like we just reviewed for the subdivision, but it's not really technically a plat for mobile home parks, but there is a site layout of how they're going to improve the pads and have their internal roads. And the zoning ordinance places the review power with the plan commission on that. So that's what the applicant is here tonight to present on. From a what are we here to talk about standpoint, because the use is within the purview of the Board of Zoning Appeals, any objections that any individual member of the commission may have as to whether you want it to be a mobile home park or you want it to expand or not is not really the question that's before you tonight. That's a question for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and that's a question that will be addressed at a public hearing by the Board of Zoning Appeals. The question tonight is really looking at the site layout and consulting with the staff on their review of it and the satisfaction of the criteria that's applicable to mobile home parks that are set forth in the zoning ordinance. Just for reference, the section of your zoning ordinance that kind of sets this all forth, my computer can quickly scroll up to it here, is, pardon me, it is section 156.084 with regard to mobile home parks. So I know this particular layout has been reviewed by staff. One of the items that we will address with the Board of Zoning Appeals when it is considering the special exception is the issue of the stored homes on the site. You know, we don't want them stored there, but what we do recognize that if the application is approved for the expansion, then we would be willing to allow them to stay there. I think the staff's comfortable with this, is to stipulate that they can stay there for 90 days, and essentially at the end of the 90 days, they either need to be placed upon completed pads and hooked up to utilities and in full working order to be lived in and to be occupied at the end of that 90-day period, or in the alternative, if that's not achieved, then they would need to be removed. So that's just a separate background in case anybody's kind of has any knowledge of the situation on the site and has any questions about it. Some of those questions regarding use, regarding the current status, they've either been addressed or are going to be addressed with the Board of Zoning Appeals. So long-winded opening for this item, but at this point, I think we can welcome up the applicant to talk about their site plan. This isn't a public hearing item, just a regular meeting item. Feel free to ask questions, ask, Ronnie his opinion on the review as well. And again, we're looking at this, the charge of this commission tonight is to look at this from a site layout perspective, not from a should this happen perspective. Do we want the mobile home park to expand? Are we okay with the mobile home park? Those are not what's before you tonight.
I have a question for council. I am a property owner adjacent to the proposed site, and as such, I will declare I have no financial interest or entwinement or whatever with Tim, but should I recuse myself from participation in this due to me being a adjacent homeowner?
So under the Indiana Code, whether you have a direct or indirect financial interest is kind of the main objective criteria. The second bit of that criteria is whether you, based on the facts and circumstances, do you have the capability of being objective and making an unbiased decision when it comes to your vote on the matter?
Let the facts prevail. Thank you.
All right,
All right.
please.
Yeah, good evening. My name is John McCoy. I'm an engineer with JLM Engineering. I'm the project engineer. This is Tim Bryant. He's the owner of the mobile home park. We also have Chelsea Stanley is his attorney with us as well. So as Jake said in his introduction of the project, you know, Tim has owned this mobile home park for several years. The first expansion of the existing park was done 3 years ago, and this board approved that expansion of 15 homes. So there's 31 total homes now on the little over 4-acre parcel of that first section. And then what we're presenting tonight is the second section, which is 49 homes total. The total property area is about 11.5 acres. So this second section is about 7.5 acres. It's all one property, it's all in one deed, the entire property. This did go to the Indiana State Health Department for approval. They do a full technical review of all the engineering items, the layout of the park, the lot sizes, the road layout, the sewer, the water, stormwater drainage, the grading of the lots, water, sewer, and electrical hookups to the homes. It's a pretty in-depth review, and that was approved by the State Health Department back in August, that approved this section. And then we also submitted plans shortly after that, after the State Health Department approved it to the city, to Ronnie Voiles for his review. So that's kind of the project, the overview of it. We just to give you some additional information as far as access. You know, Tim is going to build an extension of the existing drive into the property, which is Inez Drive, that comes off of Martinsburg Road. So that will be extended into this section. It'll also have an additional access to the north off of Old State Road 60. And you can see that on your plan. So there'll be two accesses in and out of the property to access these homes. There's an existing stormwater detention basin at the north end that currently serves the existing section. That detention basin will be enlarged. It'll actually be deepened to increase the capacity to be able to handle the future runoff from this second section. The proposed water connection will come in from the existing section on Inez. It'll actually be looped back around to Old State Road 60. That's another thing the State Health Department looked at as far as capacity, pressure of the existing water main. We had to get all that information from the water utility, so that was checked, and all that meets the requirements as far as capacity for fire flow, for normal demand, domestic demand of the proposed homes. Same thing with sanitary sewer. That was also reviewed by the city and approved for a hookup at the existing line at Old State Road 60. And that'll all be tied in. All the homes will be tied in to that connection with an 8-inch sanitary sewer. I think that pretty much summarizes the technical aspects as far as the proposed utilities. You can see the road layout, how the lots are laid out there. There's a proposed playground area which the State Health Department requires as well. And we're showing that on the plan there at the south end next to the office building. But
Ronnie,
we're
does
happy to take any questions you may have.
Just wanted to ask Ronnie if before, as laid out before us, meets all applicable
you was talking about how many fire hydrants will you have up through there on the subject, in this, do you have any?
There should be 3 total,
3 total?
yeah.
I have another question for the attorney.
Yes.
So at this point, if I understood your presentation earlier, if we have a city official saying that what we have before us meets all the city requirements, then this commission's responsibility is to approve it so that it goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
My interpretation of your zoning ordinance is that is correct. So the ordinance puts the site plan review process or site layout review process into the purview of the Plan Commission. It doesn't go into the same level of detail that the subdivision control ordinance does as to what the role is with respect to plat approvals. However, how I would read it is that it's the same type of process, that there are criteria that are applicable to mobile home parks that are set forth in the ordinance. And if those criteria are met, then the Plan Commission should approve it as a ministerial act. And ultimately, the question as to the use and whether, the criteria that they will have to show and that the Board of Zoning Appeals will have to find in their favor on reviewing a special exception, they're going to review that question and make a decision as to the expansion, thumbs up or thumbs down.
So-
But what we're talking about is more of the technical layout, and as far as if the technical layout satisfies the criteria in the ordinance, then it should be approved. And if it's not approved, then we should tell them why specifically we believe it fails to satisfy the ordinance, and then give them the opportunity to make those corrections.
Okay, but we have a representative from the city saying that's been
Correct.
met. So
And anything
then,
from the state
was
is
it
gonna
really
have our hands.
necessary to have any more time spent on this other
Well,
than to approve
Wait a
it?
second though, because I got a couple questions. Hang on. So why are we expanding out the time frame of the I'll say vacant mobile home? The ordinance is in here and it's pretty clear in paragraph B, and it's actually set up in there. So why are we expanding that out? Why would we allow that?
So practically speaking, and again, I mean, this is something that was noticed for zoning violation. We received an appeal to that zoning violation, which led to some further discussion before it was set for hearing on the violation before the Board of Zoning Appeals. Even if favorably, let's say that the Board of Zoning Appeals affirmed the decision and agreed with our interpretation of the zoning ordinance. The applicant then has the right to appeal that to the Circuit Court of the county. And whether, you agree with the basis or not, and the city would be in a position to defend its notice of violation there, they would have a high threshold to show that it was, the decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals was arbitrary or capricious or lacking of substantial evidence. But even at that, you're talking about a several month long process. And from a practical standpoint, from our perspective, it's more advantageous to have an agreement in place that is not in dispute with the applicant over the status of the homes on the site. Give them the opportunity, assuming that it's approved, to have the pads constructed, have the homes placed upon the pads and hooked up within a certain fixed period of time, and if not, then be removed within said period of time.
Because they can get a permit to do that up to 45 days, right? And I said subsection B, I meant to say C, I apologize, paragraph C. It will allow up to 45 days. And then, I had another question, and I guess actually this is more for Ronnie. I was thinking that when this was all done 2 or 3 years ago, the reason that it went through was because there wasn't gonna be any further development, if I remember right. And I could be mistaken, but that should be in the minutes. I could be mistaken, but
That's not reflected in the minutes.
it's not? Because I remember that's when we had some trouble with a lot of neighbors, a lot of phone calls, that sort of thing. And I thought that that's what was said.
I think my question here isn't really so much relevant to this at hand. However, it's further clarification on, I know we have the formality. The other thing we need to do tonight is to sort of formally address the verbiage of chip and seal as opposed to the new solution, whatever the term is. Would you mind explaining what is the alternative? Because I think that my understanding of the intent of the chip and seal verbiage was some sort of hard, dust-free, i.e. non-gravel or dirt road, something other than that.
Right.
So what is going to be?
Yeah, and it's already been applied. It's a calcium chloride solution that's applied directly to compacted rock. And what that solution does is it pulls moisture out of the air to help keep the surface dust-free. So this solution is basically sprayed on the surface directly after the surface has been compacted and rolled, which Tim brought in some additional rock, dense grade aggregate, had that applied to the existing roadway, and then the calcium chloride solution was applied on top of it.
How long does that solution last on top of the road?
It just varies. It depends on, yeah, yeah, it just depends on the use, on, how often how much traffic is up and down that road, over time. He may have to reapply it within a year. It could be 2 years. It just depends. It's not a permanent solution. And it, just like any surface, asphalt or chip and seal, it's not permanent. There's going to be some maintenance involved with it.
Right now, is the city responsible for snow removal, or is the
No.
property owner responsible for snow removal?
Property owner.
It's a private street.
Private street.
Again, the concerns, I think, from the staff
Sure.
standpoint is hard and dust proof. There is, with any surface, there's going to be a maintenance component to it. And if it were to, I guess, degrade into disrepair that ceased to be hard and dust proof, then we would be in an enforcement situation where we would be sending a letter to the owner to remedy the situation.
Sure.
But yeah, that was a condition of the original approval, in that, keeping it a hard and dust-proof surface, we would expect to be a condition to any future expansion as well.
Which had,
So are the future roads here gonna be the same setup,
Yes. Yep.
gravel, but just applied to it?
Yes. That's the plan.
How long does chip and seal last normally? How long does chip and seal usually last?
depends on usage.
Yeah,
Yeah, but 5 years, 10 years?
Is it a county road, or is it a interstate that's got semis on it all day, every day?
Right? I don't know how thick this would be. I would hope at least meet county standards.
Chip and seal lasts one summer.
Do what?
It'll last normally one summer when you chip and seal. A
Which one?
gravel road that's got a lot of traffic has to be graded every so often, keep the potholes out of it. So then you gotta go back and re-chip and seal again.
so I do want to just note for the commission on this issue, we asked the applicant before we would move forward with the agenda item, as we wanted to address that remaining issue from the prior approval to ensure that it was done. We ran that to ground, with the staff ran that to ground with subject matter experts, and we felt comfortable enough that it was substantially the same method of making it hard and dust proof with, similar characteristics, even though it's called by something that's not, quotes, chip and seal, that it is materially and substantially the same thing, such that we felt comfortable in advising the applicant to go ahead and act on doing that so that they could move forward with their application.
And it is state approved.
So when I look this up, it says the average chip and seal in Indiana is typically 5 to 7 years. There's another site that says 3 to 5. There's another site that says 7 to 15, 7 to 10, 5 to 7, 7 to 10.
I think where I'm coming at with this is, I remember this, and I think the intent, the chip and seal verbiage was used, I think the intent, though, was a paved, chip and seal, i.e. some sort of paved hard surface. That was,
'Cause I think-
again, we're here now today with this,
And I
but,
think we negotiated down, so you actually want it paved.
No, we wanted it paved. I remember
We were
wanted it
wanting it
paved, and
paved.
this was the opportunity.
We wanted to do a chip and seal because they were looking for a little bit of a financial easement or whatever there on that. And so we gave that, and now here we are looking at something, in my opinion, is not gonna hold up as well as what we already negotiated on to begin with.
Well, and also it was set up where, for the cost of it and everything, we allowed them to put in so many trailers before it had to be done.
Right.
And they
That's
put
true.
in those trailers, but then, from my understanding, they had trouble finding how to do this. So it lasted a lot longer before it actually got done.
so let me back up though a second. What we're doing though, as it stands right now, is we're administratively, I guess, acknowledging the difference there, 1, and 2, what we're doing is subject to, obviously, staff, and the state obviously is completely out of our control. They approve or decline
Right.
to their own guidelines. We are here to approve this. However, this is going before the BZA, at which point it's, all this new will be reviewed and it's going to be a public hearing.
Mhm. Yeah, I recommended that we address the item of the verbiage of the chip and seal, because again, from the record, it appears the issue is a hard and dust proof surface. It's not paved, it's not blacktop, it's not concrete,
So,
but it's going to be it's a hard and dust proof surface that's going to require routine maintenance. The applicant is going to be responsible for doing that. If they fail to maintain it in accordance with the standards for that particular method of keeping it hard and dust proof, then they will be subject to a violation, and they will have to remedy the situation or face the appropriate remedies and consequences under the zoning ordinance. No different than with a chip and seal that is also going to require routine maintenance,
Sure.
much more so than concrete and asphalt. The reason that I recommended as counsel to the commission for this to come here is, for one, to just clean up the record of proceedings on this issue, but also to give them the comfort that this is the same, substantially the same thing. And it's satisfying the objective, and we're moving forward. But I think that's more of an administrative matter, I think, that I would like to get cleaned up of record.
Sure.
I have a
Well-
question.
Sure.
Isn't the point moot since it's already done?
Well, that's sort of the
would be an
point
issue,
right
too.
now, is has it been complied with now? I obviously, we don't have those minutes or the recording or whatever right in front of us. However, I think it's fair to act on the way it was worded as such. If it was worded a hard and dust-proof surface, and if that's,
As a staff, I don't think we
It-
would be prepared to issue a notice of violation based upon
that's what I'm getting at.
it being sealed with this item.
With that being the case, I think for the purpose of acknowledging that as it relates to the already existing
Correct.
infrastructure there with the original approval, I would move that, I guess, do we just acknowledge?
Yeah,
Would it be fair to just make a motion acknowledging that
correct.
calcium chloride
Yes.
that the calcium chloride treatment on the existing gravel road be considered in compliance with a hard and dustproof surface as originally required.
Correct.
I would make that motion,
And
that
who have
we
we talked to?
acknowledge that.
And who have we talked to that are experts that are saying, yes, this is equal?
What we're going off of is staff, i.e. building department, opinion or professional opinion that as the requirement that we imposed being a hard and dust-proof surface, that this treatment
Meets that statement.
that
Okay, I
it
got you.
it fulfills that box. Now, I think there's discussion outside of that. However, when it comes to does it satisfy that box, I think we can acknowledge that it does satisfy that criteria, and it is an equivalent criteria there.
So then where did the
Further,
verbiage come into where we said chip and seal? Because I'm thinking we want a pavement, we downgraded already, now we're downgrading again. I don't feel like we're doing, I don't think we're doing it right. I don't think that's, I mean, I understand that it is a hardened surface, but I don't think that we're cheapening it up even more than what we did to begin with to help. And I mean, at some point, the developer has to do that. And I don't think we're doing that. I don't think we're doing the project justice. I don't think we're doing the people justice to keep cheapening up this project for them. That's just my opinion.
Where is the original wording? What is?
it would be in the minutes from the,
So the original wording
as recorded in the minutes.
is that the road must be chip and sealed to be made dustproof.
It's
I think
pretty
it says
plain.
chip and seal. I mean, that's the way I read it. It just says chip and seal. I mean,
And chip
Now-
and seal is no longer available for roadways of that.
Well, and I guess that's where, I guess I should, I'm the president of this board, I have no knowledge of highway construction. However, chip and seal is generally done by milling an existing roadway
Yeah.
with
Yes.
lots of compaction underneath, and then we're going on top. This is I mean, how deep are we?
Yeah, 8 inches
Yeah, I
of
was gonna say
rock.
10 inches, 8 inches deep.
Yeah.
If we sprayed it with, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this could be paved. However, what we said wasn't paved. What was said was chip and seal,
Right,
which is,
right.
That was.
But we were looking, but we,
Basically, that is not state standard anymore in chip and seal.
right.
And the replacement is
Yes.
what you guys have done.
Correct, yeah. Since there's no chip and seal solution available for this project, that's the equivalent, is the calcium chloride.
I would ask that Google searches not be used for consultation by the commission members. I mean, that.
Then we
I just
should-
want to look up, I just want to
But
look
no,
up.
no,
what it
just
is.
please hear me out, because Google is not, or whoever is proffering that information is not offering information for you to consider.
Sure.
And so, particularly with the attorney of the applicant here, I don't think it would be appropriate to be Googling what you think your position should be on the issue. I think we should
I would.
deal with the applicant and also
I
the
would
staff's
stand and
recommendations.
I would say, I had proposed a motion, no one has seconded yet. I proposed a motion though to acknowledge that calcium chloride treatment of the existing road infrastructure, we acknowledge that it complies with a hard dustproof surface for purposes of administrative clarity as it
And
relates
based
to
on
that.
what Ronnie just said, it's not really an option anymore. Based on that, I would second the motion.
If he's in violation, the state will write him up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the state's pretty tough anymore, they'll let you know.
So, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. All right, so that's taken care of. The second thing then is I guess this, unlike this is not a preliminary plat approval, or is it a?
No,
what
it's a
technically
functional equivalent of it, is essentially the plan commission must review the site layout for mobile home parks.
Sure.
And the zoning ordinance sets forth the criteria that must be satisfied in terms from a layout perspective of a mobile home park. And so, similar to how we look at a plat approval, if each of those criteria are satisfied in the site layout that's been proposed, then it should be approved. If not, then you should indicate to the applicant which specific criteria it fails to satisfy, and then give them they will have the opportunity to come back at a subsequent plan commission meeting for the layout approval. It shouldn't affect the BZA timeline next month, because again, that's really a separate issue as to the use itself. This is more of practically how that's gonna look on the ground, assuming, for sake of argument, that the BZA were to approve. So all of this would be conditioned on it getting BZA approval on the special exception.
I guess the point I would like to make is, this is the third time you've explained that to us, and in essence, the city has already said, the representative of the city, that such criteria has been met. So my question, and really, it's not our purview, it's in the, the AV, the zone,
BZA.
the BZA's purview.
As
So-
far as use goes, but
Yeah, but why are we spending this much time for something that we can't impact?
The plan commission still has to approve,
But-
just like
but-
you could make the same argument for a preliminary plat approval, that if they satisfy all the criteria, then it's a ministerial act and you have to approve it.
But like in the one we just did, road names, changing road names for emergency services, things like that could come up. In this case, I'm looking at the road names and it's pretty clear.
Do
It's,
you guys want to put a buffer in between, where there's houses and where the mobile home park would be?
And it's required under the zoning ordinance, the vegetative
Say
buffer is
it's-
required.
say, it looks like you guys have, correct me if I'm wrong, there is a fence at least on this property line up here that looks to be noted on the plat. Will that be, I know it states it up here, excuse me. I don't see the legend. I don't know if, I guess that would be south, the southernmost tip, but as it comes down, as it goes around the Lipke property, would that fence continue around up to Old State Road?
Yes, it continues around the perimeter of the property.
Okay.
It-
Okay.
And just, again, for the plan commission, in terms of buffering, the zoning ordinance requires a dense green foliage vegetative buffering, that I believe within 3 years, it must hit 6 feet in height, and that plant's growing life cycle, and it must have a full height and maturity of at least 12 feet. So, that's where we stand on a buffering standpoint, and that's not necessarily something that you have to impose as a condition. That's
It's
already
already
required in
existing.
the ordinance.
I've got one little question, and I don't know if it'll pertain to this or not, but will each one of these lots have a parking spot off the road?
Yes.
They will, okay.
Yeah, 'cause if you remember the original park, when it was there, it's probably been there longer than I've been alive, which is over 50 years, but they done the roadside parking, and of course, when the state
Right.
inspector came in, I was questioning about what can and cannot do, and of course, they'll let you know.
Okay.
But they made that suggestion that if you can do it, put them up in front of them homes, get them off this road, that way you don't
That was my,
endanger.
my concern, just because, I've been up Bryant Drive before, and they're parked on the road,
Right,
and emergency vehicles and stuff have some issues, getting in and out.
yeah, we've kinda told them, if you need the additional parking, go up here by the office, off hours,
Yeah.
whatever, and stay off of this.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that was
Yeah.
kinda in the
Yeah.
plan,
Yeah.
to get vehicles off the
I
road.
think it looks better, because, I'm all about safety. I mean, I've been here for all my life, and course, some of you guys are gonna recognize, I can kind of blame Jim Bennett for getting me started in this. I was a little boy at the time, and him and my grandfather Alan Coffey hung around, and kind of give you a little bit of history, but I grew up on Arthur Street, and of course Pete Brown lived over there, and of course Wally was down at the gas station at that time.
Right.
A lot of them guys impacted my life to get me started doing this, and now they're not here. But anyways, they kind of give me an impression of course I take pride in the town, I mean, I'm from here, and I don't want to do like, I can't really call out names, but there's parks around, they need to get their stuff cleaned up. I was hoping that I would make an example to a couple of other ones, that they would start cleaning up their stuff, because there's no reason why you can't throw a little paint on them and at least clean them up. Of course, they're out of state where I'm here, and I have to face all you guys. So I'd rather you guys take pride in what I'm doing, realize, hey, we've got somebody that actually cares about what they're doing here in the community, and not just bringing in junk stuff and just, I mean, I don't want a bunch of junk stuff here. I mean, I take pride, and of course, I've got a good neighbor over here, even though he's trying to get out of talking here, but.
No, I'm just,
No, I mean, I know.
this is obviously something that BZA needs to deal with.
Right.
Got one question there. You're talking about upgrading the retention pond. So will the discharge of it and that ditch, will that be redone or revamped a little bit, or?
No, it's not planned to be. No, not unless it's created an issue
Okay.
that
All right.
we weren't aware of any issues with the discharge. We were gonna keep that the same. But the current outlet structure, it's a concrete box that's 3 feet deep with the outlet pipe out the back side of that box.
Right.
And that's gonna be modified and dug out with the new outlet control structure installed. And that whole basin will be excavated out to create the additional volume
Okay.
for the
And
stormwater.
other question I had was, this one here will be a gravel, or will this supposed to be a paved park? This new addition will be paved?
The roads?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no,
It'll
it's
be the same
proposed to be the
setup
same.
as the other?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Of course, the concern with pavement at that site is the steep grade. You know, it falls off quite a bit from south to north, you know, towards Old State Road 60. So in the wintertime, it's gonna be really slick on a paved surface, you know, versus rock with this sealant on it. So it is a safety concern as well, just because of the grade.
My thoughts to go along with that are coming off of the gravel onto the blacktop, because it never fails from gravel to blacktop, it's slick when it gets wet. I don't, this is just my opinion, and I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't feel comfortable voting on this tonight. I've got too many questions in my head, but I'm one person.
I think with a lot of questions about the addition here, council, correct me if I'm misspeaking at all, it's really not, all we are doing is, as far as the mapping of the plat, nothing else, as far as just the design itself.
That's correct.
And if it conforms with what standards exist, and assuming staff, Ronnie, does not see any issues, we really don't have any room to decline, correct?
Unless there's a specific
A
criteria
specific
under
criteria
the zoning
that we
ordinance
can point
provision
to.
on mobile homes regarding the layout.
However, this still has to go before Board of Zoning Appeals, which is where a lot of, I think, questions we might be having or might want to pose would be addressed and would be more discussed. Is that fair?
I think it's better situated to be addressed by the Board of Zoning Appeals on the special exception review.
Gotcha. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Again, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the plan as meeting the criteria based on the recommendation of city representatives. And I also have many questions, but they're not appropriate at this time. And so I would move that we meet our requirement and accept this and pass it, and then defer to the board, the BZA, to do as what they are legislatively mandated to do.
So a motion has been
I'm gonna
made
second it.
and motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, so I guess the plat acknowledgement or approval
Yeah, it's,
has been,
that box under the zoning ordinance has been checked, and we're planning on having them at the BZA meeting in November.
excellent. Thank you. Okay.
I'll
Thank
see
you,
you
gentlemen.
then, too.
New business, is there any new business?
So I have a question, but I don't know if I should bring it up or not. At the Central Business District, the painting of the buildings in the Central Business District, who's approving those? I thought those were supposed to come before the board if there was more than 50% done. They all look fine, I'm just asking who's approving them.
I don't know if it's the Main Street Committee. There is a committee now that does all the Main Street approvals.
That's a good point, that there's something in there that we've run into this issue before where
We normally don't say much.
no one says anything, but then the second someone does
But
something, maybe we don't like it, now we really don't have grounds to do anything
Right.
because we've not
We've never.
addressed it with people who
Right,
that's something we probably need to revisit.
and they all look fine. I'm just asking
Yeah.
who's approving it to keep it straight on the ordinances, right?
I'll check and see if they did bring it before them.
Yeah, that's because I know, brought up last time, I violated it. We painted our building 2 times
Yeah.
before I even realized there was an ordinance. Same colors it's
Yeah.
always been,
Yeah.
but
And
I
it's-
mean,
and
we painted it.
everything's fine. Yeah.
we did it.
Most of them, they have it done before they even turn
Yeah,
I don't know, you can keep it.
that's something like, as a formality, we need to figure out some sort of
Yeah.
solution because,
They don't know that they need
right.
And it's not on any kind of a historic registry.
Correct. Board, is there any old business we need to bring back up?
Well, I don't know if this would be new business, one thing
sure.
I'd like to share is that for next fiscal year, when we're choosing officers, I do not wish to serve as secretary. I let you know, it's like my wife is facing a minimum of 2 surgeries, and recovery is, and so I still intend to be a member, but I may have to miss at times, and so I want you to be thinking about who you want as a secretary, so you have somebody reliable to be here as the secretary.
Thank you, Tom.
I miss it, but,
Well, hey,
And for any,
in 12 months later, we'll get you in 27.
for any willing potential secretaries, I will say that position has been made significantly, I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's easier to check your work now that we stream the meetings. There's a video archive, so it's, I know I can sometimes be a little slow with my handwriting and trying to keep up with notes and minutes, and when I do shorthand, sometimes I think I look back at it and I think like, what was I talking about here? But now that we have a video resource, that should be a little bit more manageable of a task. But certainly thoughts are with you in your situation, and
thank you.
hope for a good recovery.
Well, we're getting old and maintenance is more extensive as you go along.
I do have a question, and I don't know if it's old business or new business. I'm certain it's probably somewhere in between. As I've been reading and studying and trying to familiarize myself better with our ordinances and our zoning rules and so on and so forth, and I know this has been brought up before, I'm finding information that is 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, variations, so things that cross-reference each other, that just become circular. We're in 2025, and I know financially we're not able to do a whole lot, but at some point we've at least got to bring, even if it's pieces and parts at a time. I don't know how to address this, honestly, but in looking at our documentation, it needs help very badly. We really don't have a lot of good things to fall back on, even in our subdivision information. You know, we've got all of our rural route 1s, 2s, and 3s, and we've got our subdivision information that we can fall back on and create nice intentions, but our subdivision information is so old, we can't even do that. So I'm concerned, I am, that we are falling more and more and more behind on documentation and even legal standing on a lot of the decisions that we make. No, I'll just leave that there. It's just something to think about and noodle over.
Does anyone have anything else? All right. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion, we adjourn for the evening.
Now I'll make the motion.
All right, motion made by
Chuck.
Chuck, motion seconded by Talisha. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Chuck, don't go anywhere. I've got